George Parthemore from Steelton. He was on the USS Winston, aka 94, from September 1965 through September 1967, serving 2 tours. George grew up in Steelton, leaving school in the 9th grade to enlist in the Navy in September 1965. He served in the Navy for 6 years, leaving in August 1971. He received his GED while he was in the Navy. For his service to our country, he received the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal, Vietnam Campaign Medal with device. Following his service to our country, he drove tractor trailers, doubles and triples, for 42 years, and after retiring from that, he worked for Home Depot for 9.5 years. George has been married to his wife, Diana, for 47 years, and they have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. For fun, George enjoys woodworking, and George, I was supposed to put something else on there. I know he likes to drive in VVA parades, and I forget what else I was supposed to say. What else was I supposed to say? That's my first mistake of the day.
In your moment.
Anyway, I give you Vietnam veteran George Parthemore.
I'm going to have to use a magnifying glass on this here because I can't even understand the writing in this here computer. But the reason I got in the Navy, when I was growing up in Steelton, one of my buddies got killed in Vietnam. A lot of you Americans.
George, hold the mic closer to your mouth.
Yes, sir. But a lot of you was killed in 1965. And there's 4 of us at the school. We decided, well, we're going to go in the service. But I couldn't figure out what I want to do. So my wife's daddy at the time, him and I used to sit out in the front porch and drink coffee and that and talk till about 1 o'clock in the morning. He said, well, if you don't want to go into the jungle, join the Navy. Boy, was he wrong. I ended up on a cargo ship, which we drove the landing crafts in to Vietnam. We delivered a lot of Marines, a lot of Army to the beaches. We delivered a lot of freight. Now, I mean, it seemed like I was a freight driver all my life. Let me see here. When I went to when I went to boot camp, I'll tell you what, it is cold up the Great Lakes in the winter. It was cold. They had the old barracks yet, and when you get up in the morning, if it snowed, it was inside the barracks too. And I left Great Lakes, come home. I was home 30 days. I ended up out in California, San Diego. Well, when I got there, I looked at the ship. I said, oh man, what did I get on? All I seen was booms and boats. So I got aboard, and I wasn't aboard no 2 or 3 weeks. We left port. And out at sea, I said, they said R&R. I said, you know, where are we going on? On leave and that. Well, R&R means to the Navy rust and red lead. We had a chip paint and paint. And anytime you go into Hawaii, that ship's got to be looking good. You didn't see no rust on it. All the lines were covered with white canvas. The cables for our booms. Everything had to be slushed down and covered. Well, we departed San Diego in March of '66. And so if I get lost here, I just lost my space. For the first Far Eastern deployment in which she would conduct major operations in Vietnamese waters, she stopped at Pearl overnight on the 10th and 11th, so nobody got off. We arrived in Okinawa on the 26th, There she unloaded one cargo and took on another, mostly lumber for construction activities at Chulai. So I don't know how to say some of these names. Maybe you Marines can help me out. I can say it if I spell it for you. She arrived at Chulai on the 5th and spent the next 4 days unloading the cargo. On the 10th, she moved to Da Nang, where she helped Skagit, aka 105, unload her cargo. She was having problems, so we had to help them. And from the, let me see here, Kalo or something like that, area near you. Wait, I'm sorry. You know I don't spend no time on the beach. We went down the Wade River, both banks in which were in enemy hands. At the completion of that dangerous mission, she re-embarked all boats and crewmen and got on their way for Hong Kong. Now that's a good liberty port. I don't know if anybody spent any time in Hong Kong, but they have a good restaurant there, that floating restaurant, that red one. It's good eating. Let me see where I'm at. We followed a week of liberty there in Hong Kong, and it was a good liberty. You learn a lot. I'm not going to say no more. She returned to sea, set a course for Japan on the 23rd of April, and arrived at Sasebo on the 27th. She spent 3 weeks in upkeep, where before sailing on the 16th of May for, let me see where I'm at. And we had to do some amphibious training exercise in Okinawa. On the 17th and 18th of May, and from 19th set out for Vietnam on the 23rd and arrived on Chulai on the 27th. We unloaded cargo, disembarked passengers, and after a brief stop at Da Nang on 2nd of June, got on their way for Taiwan. She arrived in Keelung on the 4th of June and remained there until the 7th, when she returned to sea bound to Subic Bay in the Philippines. En route, however, she was rerouted to Yokohama, Japan, where she arrived on the 11th of June at the end of almost a month of upkeep in Yokosuka, that's right. I knew there was something in there. Where she arrived on the 11th of June. At the end, almost a month of upkeep, several days of operations near Okinawa, Winston suffered damage to one of her boilers. That casualty forced her into Subic Bay for repairs, and she did not return to sea until the 22nd of July. Well, you know what that meant. R&R, rust and red lead again. And upkeep on the boats. Everybody, when we had the boats up on deck, we had a paint that made sure everything was shined up, everything was running right. On the 26th of July, after a rough transit which had taken her through developing Typhoon Aura, the cargo ship returned to Vietnam and Cam Ranh Bay. The next day she embarked men and equipment of the Army's 572nd Light Equipment Company for transportation north to, here's one of them names again, Taiho, or T-U-Y-H-O-A. Tuiwa. Well, I'll tell you what, I should have studied these names. She anchored there same day and began unloading. The operations lasted 2 days and proved difficult and hazardous due to the soft sand beach, large numbers of the fishing craft and the equipment crowding the area, the large amounts of debris on the 29th, we headed north to evacuate a South Vietnamese unit from Vietman. Boy, I'll tell you what, I'm glad you guys are here. Because I sure in the world wouldn't know half of these names. I know this is really messing up my but when we unloaded a load of beer somewhere along the way, and I'll tell you what, we had a happy crew there. I mean, especially on the boats. And let me see here. On the next 3 nights, she completed another difficult unloading operation, complicated by proximity of the enemy and the possibility of hostile fishing craft. That's one of the first times in the boats we had the guns manned when we were in port like that. The 50 calibers, we had guys standing on watch up in the forecastle with shotguns. We had the 40s mounted in case something come out. The old man on board ship, he was one guy, he just didn't take a chance. And you appreciate someone like that. It takes care of his men. And someone asked me, how come you never made no rating? I said, well, I'm a better follower than a commanding. I said, I won't want to tell a man what to do or have a man killed out there, because I know it has to be rough on somebody who had to give them orders. Let me see where I'm at here. We headed home after that, stopped at Pearl Harbor from the 27th to the 29th of August, and arrived back in San Diego on the 5th of September. You know, them days don't seem like long, but when you're out in the middle of nowhere, and you know, just before you get into Hawaii, they said, well, if you're on the deck force, your butt goes over the side, you're painting. They used to put us on these little boards, the boats and chairs, and they swung us over the side. When the ship would drift this way, you'd swing in with a roller. Okay, you got it. And then you'd swing the other way. I mean, you had to be pretty well coordinated. I don't think I could do that nowadays. I'd probably fall off this boats and chair. And we had like man overboard drills. They throw a dummy over the. I said, man, I'm getting away from here because they'll throw my butt over the next time. But I had an interesting life on that ship. We were down in Willie Brown, or Hickson his name was. He was an African-American gentleman. Him and I had to go down when we were working on the deck force at the time. We had to go down into the paint locker. Well, the paint locker's all the way up into the forecastle, and you go down about maybe 40 feet or more, and it's got a narrow ladder. And I mean, skinny guy has trouble going down there. But we were handing these 5-gallon buckets up of paint. Well, someone decided to drop the anchor. Well, that anchor chain went right down through that paint locker in a tube. Well, Hickson about killed me. I was halfway up the ladder. He passed me. He was on the deck, and he was almost crying. He said, what went off? I said, I don't know, but I'm glad I'm out of that hole. There was like I say, you have incidents like that. And he was one of the lucky guys on board ship. He was cleaning a 45 in the armory, and the thing went off. And you know, you got nothing but bulkheads in there. And that thing bounced around that room, I don't know how long, but that man was scared when he come out of there. And what happened is one of the officers handed the gun back, took the clip out of it, never clicked, I guess, never made sure it was empty. And Hickson, he just pulled the trigger when he was in there, and it went off. But I had to go down to the VA here last week for hearing aids. And he said, did you shoot any guns? I said, I was a loader on top of one of the 40 millimeters, one of the pom-pom guns we called it. And the first time I shot that, I was scared to death. Because you're dropping 4 shells in that thing at a time, and if you mess up, you jam it. And I didn't want to mess up. But it was nice at night because every third round was a tracer. You could follow that where that thing was going. But getting back to here, we got back in San Diego, and we went into San Pedro for the yard work. We had a bearing go out in the shaft on the ship on the way back. And I don't know if anybody ever rode a ship when a shaft is bad. I mean, it's bad enough when you come out of the water a little bit that vibrates. Well, this thing vibrated all the time when you got up into the speed a little bit. And we didn't have that much speed anyhow to start with. But they had to tear that ship almost completely apart from the top to stack down to get that shaft down in there. I said, man, there's got to be an easier way. And when, you know, they put you on dry dock to do this, and you go to bed that night, you get up in the morning, you're out of the water completely. They have this ship up in the air, and I do have pictures, but I don't have none of them with me. I walked underneath that ship to get pictures, and I got my butt reamed out about it. We weren't allowed down underneath that. But I ended up, after they got out of the yards, we went back out into training again, and I ended up going to Hawaii in the last 30 days.